self. I think we give the impression to people, and it's the right impression, that we are, so we don't get extra people in, and that we are the group, you know. And basically we've lived in each other's pockets now for 7 years, you know, and we're like a family. And I think what Martin writes does speak to the whole group, and I think because he writes generally about his experiences, about life, which I know most people do, but he writes about all aspects of life, and I think people do get that thing that comes from us, and it's the way we live and things, you know.
Alan Wilder, a 22-year-old Londoner and former member of Reel to Reel, answered a Melody Maker advert for a synth player. Originally only employed to reproduce Vince's parts live, the band returned to Blackwing Studios to record A Broken Frame without Alan.
Looking back, you know, we could have done with Alan really, because he's a very, very good musician, and he's a great help to us, because I think we're only really average musicians, you know, and having a really good musician sort of like brings your standards up.
Brian Griffin was again employed to design the album cover.
I remember setting it up in this cornfield, the photograph, and I remember the art director, Martin Askins, said, "Well, shall I go off and get some bacon sandwiches then?" And he went off on his motorbike. And then we were there, just myself, Stuart Graham, and the lady with the scythe. And it had been raining heavily all the way up to the location, like really raining. And we were there, we set our lights up. There's about 4 small flash units around, you know. 2 of them have got like a gelatin on, you know, to give the corn some colour. The rain stopped, and then the sky and the sun broke. And then my flash is filling in all, lighting the woman and lighting the cornfield. And the magic happened in like half an hour.
A Broken Frame received critical acclaim for its artwork. Brian remembers Daniel's reaction.
See him coming to my studio and he said, "Where are the transparencies then, Brian?" or whatever he might have said, for A Broken Frame. I said, "Oh, they're over there, Daniel, just put them on the light box," you know. And he put them on the light box, and he went, "Wow!" You know, just blew the top of his head off, you know, which anybody would, should have blown anybody's head off, really. And the fact that, you know, I'd created one of the great photographic album sleeves of the history of rock and roll, I was really happy.
The band's third album, Construction Time Again, with full participation from Alan, saw Depeche Mode embrace a new production technique, sampling.
As far back as perhaps 1983, they started sampling in a big way. And this is a different technology to synthesizers. This is a way of recording any sound you like and replaying it musically on a keyboard or getting a computer to sequence it or whatever in a very precise manner.
At that stage, early 80s, sampling technology was just kind of emerging, and with Depeche, samplers for us were always a chance to make a found sound, you know, like that, or I don't know, that's not much of a sound actually, but like that, you know, play a melody or a rhythm. So we were able to take found sounds from the environment and make them play rhythms and melodies, which was, for us, mind-blowing, you know.
When we got to Construction Time Again, it was the industrial sound that was so different to everything else. That kept me interested on that album, and plus Martin was becoming more confident than in his songwriting as well.
One song on Construction Time Again that is a great example of that is the song Pipeline, where all the sounds, apart from the vocals, are sampled sounds. And we went outside the studio here, down the street to an old disused railway yard with a portable tape recorder. I had a Stellavox, it was called, a high quality analogue tape recorder. And we went round with hammers and drumsticks and beat on pieces of metal and anything we could find, recorded all the sounds, brought them back here, and recorded a track at a time from the sampler the rhythms and melodies that make up Pipeline. Then we recorded the backing track onto the Sony Pro Walkman, and then we went back down to the railway yard with Dave to do vocals, and he sung the lead vocal to the backing track back onto the tape recorder in the railway yard. Then we brought it back in here and put it all together and mixed it in Berlin. Actually, the record was mixed in Berlin, it was just recorded here.
Brian followed up his A Broken Frame success with the album cover for Construction Time Again.
And what happened again, I had the same photographic assistant, Stuart Graham, who helped me on it. Great compatriot on these shoots. And we went out to Switzerland and we went up this mountain near the Matterhorn, I think it is. And Stuart's brother was a ex-Royal Marine. And he's the man who holds the hammer. And we took a real sledgehammer with us to Switzerland, which is a crazy thing to do. I mean, I'm sure we could have made one out of fiberglass or something, but we took a real one. And the sledgehammer came off first off the aeroplane. It was wrapped in a black bin liner, and it cascaded down onto the carousel, the stainless steel carousel, and crashed onto the carousel. But yeah, we went up to the top of the mountain. You know, we all sort of got the cable car up there, and then we climbed, and we got to that point. And we were all carrying all our gear, the three of us, you know, and did it up there, yeah, in Switzerland. It's a real shot. Some people think it's like a Photoshop, but it's not. It's a real shot.
Some Great Reward was released in September 1984. Gareth Jones remembers the title track, People Are People.
When the song demos are done on a cassette machine, it means that you can't, there's very little of it that you can use in the final production because it's all mixed down onto a cassette and it's got loads of noise on it. It's impossible to separate different melodic or rhythmic lines out. There was one famous demo sound we used on People Are People though, which Martin made in his emulator. I remember it because it seemed like a huge step at the time. Our first instinct was to try and recreate the sound, and then we realised that it was pointless because Martin had sampled a bit of ambience in a plane which he'd looped up, which gave a very special atmosphere, I think, to the chorus on People Are People.
I think with Depeche Mode, people always seem to realise after the fact just how cutting edge they were at the time when they're looking back.
Brian designed the cover for Some Great Reward.
The Steelworks was an idea where it probably came from the band, and Daniel and myself all grouped together, getting in some studio. And they wanted the Steelworks, and a married couple, I think, obviously. And I knew a Steelworks that I looked at out my bedroom window as a boy. Just lit it one night. It was a wonderful feeling lighting that Steelworks.